Ni hao! My name is Denise Manning, and I am a third year student at the University of the West Indies, Mona, where I am pursuing my Bachelor of Arts in the Department of History and Archaeology with a minor in philosophy. I'm 38 years old, and I am also a graduate of the Shortwood Teachers College. My current workload at the University of the West Indies include courses such as Caribbean philosophy, well, issues in Caribbean philosophy, in addition to digital history and historical archaeology. My Those are my current interest area regarding my classes. I am a native Jamaican English speaker, and by extension, English is our second language, first language being Patwa. I would describe myself as being versatile, determined, and someone who loves teaching as well as learning. When I was growing up, I used to like to play school with my friends. I always wanted to be the teacher. I always like giving them a lot of homework. I have since my training at Shortwood refined a bit since then. So it my classes tend to be vibrant, they tend to be learner centered, and it is a very good experience. I am a creative, and I'm very open minded, I'm easygoing, and I'm easily liked. I enjoy working with others, and I use these qualities in both my personal and my work life to a great deal of success. I am an above average, and we can say, yes, I'm an excellent communicator. I have excellent communication skills. I am a arts and culture writer, and recently I have works published in the Caribbean Quarterly and the Jamaica Journal, and I have another upcoming piece to be published in the Jamaica Journal. So for the Caribbean Quarterly, this is the magazine, Caribbean Quarterly, and in addition, the photograph was done by a friend of mine. His name is G, and we did work together in terms of photography and that kind of thing. So I reviewed this book, Literary Expressions of Caribbean Philosophy. It is an anthology, and it gave me a really good perspective of how African philosophy and African spirituality is used in common everyday Hollywood movies and in literature, but it's so well done that we don't even notice them. For example, in Disney with the Pirates of the Caribbean, you see Jack Sparrow speaking with Calypso, and it was just an eye-opening read, and I wrote a review for that. In addition to that, I reviewed this book um, for the Jamaica Journal, and initially when I do reviews, I don't know exactly where they're going because I thought I was going to write this for the Caribbean Quarterly as well, but it ended up being in the Jamaica Journal. And for me, that was a personal achievement because this is a journal that I grew up with, and it has one of my favorite, one of my most favorite Jamaican artists, who is Peter Tosh, on the cover. So it just worked out for me. Like I said, it is a personal favorite journal for me in that it's something that I grew up doing research in. It helped me with a lot of my student research while I was in high school, and by extension, just to see my work in it, I think that is a major achievement on my part. In addition, I have been a blogger before it was cool. I was blogging since about 2012. So we go back to me doing Caribbean digital history. I'm sorry. Digital history is about um, how historians communicate in the digital world, how we use technology in the classroom, how we use platforms such as WordPress to engage with our students, and not only that, to develop archives, that kind of situation. So it has helped me with my blogging experience and helped me in more how I organize my content, in how I engage with my readers and how I engage with my audience, and it holds me to a higher standard now, being someone in the history department creating content. It's not only for academics, but that is the main focus in terms of my writing, in terms of my blogging currently. Um, but I I have developed greatly since starting that course, and my blogging has developed, exponentially. Currently, the current blog I'm working on is about my experience on archaeology sites at the White Marl Taino excav- White Marl in Spanish in St. Catherine. Um, that excavation site, it's a Taino excavation site. Um, I'm doing a blog on my student work in with the archaeology department and the artifacts that we end up recovering, the artifacts that we recovered from that site. The site dates approximately from 600 AD to 1500, so it's a pre-Columbian site. And within Jamaica, there is the strong argument that the Tainos, they did not impact the landscape of Jamaica. However, sites like White Marl disprove disprove those arguments, and the blog that I'm currently working on is helping to educate people along the line that even our name is Taino derived, so they did have a impact on our landscape. I'm also a member of the Jamaica Archaeologists Society, so we go out and experience various heritage and historical sites, and I get to see firsthand what is culturally at risk in my country, and I am trying to be a person who is a part of the solution with regards to historical preservation. Uh, I presented a paper at the biennial Rex Nettleford conference, and that was in 2017. And that was on how how you can hack your biohacking your productivity using music videos, and that was entertaining to say the least, because I got a chance to use contemporary music and explore how human beings, our attention span, and how we can trick ourselves into doing more work just by using music videos. So that was a really good experience for me. And the fact that I got to share my paper with others who were equally interested in new media, um, was 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 really good for me. I love traveling, and I love diving deep into new cultures. So I am one of those people who you don't have to convince that how beautiful the Caribbean is, how special and unique the Caribbean is, how diverse a space it is. So I became interested in aspects and in spaces that were within the Caribbean and within the world that were influenced by the communist ideology. So I successfully went to Cuba, and I went there before the death of Fidel Castro, and I needed to explore and understand Cuba and by extension Germany, Berlin, Germany, from the perspective of art history. I wanted to understand more in terms of cultural ideologies, and I love when I go to new spaces, the architecture. So when I travel, I realize that I go with the intention of learning certain things, but when you travel, you end up learning even more about yourself unexpectedly than you did. So while in Cuba, actually, I became an inadvertent tour guide for an elderly American couple. And how that ended up happening is my personality is big and outgoing, so I wasn't afraid to have conversations in broken Spanish with 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 the people there. I wasn't afraid to try new foods. I wasn't afraid to try new things. I always wanted to go somewhere. So that kind of energy is engaging and enticing. So they ended up keep asking me where am I going, and I'm always planning things. So they ended up being a part of my party. Um, I also like traveling, as I said, but I like jobs that I can travel with. And one of my past employment opportunities was with the tourism product and development company. Um, I tourism product and development company. The program was Team Jamaica, and was I was a coordinator and something else. I was a coordinator, but yes, but where in that capacity, I trained, I trained adults, and my specific discipline was history and culture. So I ended up having them be more au fait with Brand Jamaica, what is expected when persons come to Jamaica and they are engaged by Jamaicans. So it was more about how do they translate their personalities when visitors come to the island. We're known for being friendly, we're known for being warm, we're known for, just being talkative people, and people who have just a really interesting energy. And I helped to train um, people from the Jamaica Urban Transit Workers. That is the bus company here in Jamaica. I ended up training some of the participants were from there, and in addition to tourism workers. So um, it was about, you know going the extra mile with service, and knowing who your custom clients or the visitors are, just giving them a completely unique experience with Jamaica. So I I traveled the island extensively. I loved it. I love meeting people. I love experiencing, as I said, new food. And it's funny because I live here for so long, but even the nuances in 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 food for different parishes. I got to experience that. Um, so I'd like to address or speak on why I believe, or why I believe I'm an ideal candidate for the English teacher in China program. And as Dr. Williams pointed out, is I am a trained history and social studies teacher. And while I was at Shortwood, I had many friends who were early childhood specialists. And because I am a creative, I ended up doing a lot of charts. I ended up helping them with their games. I ended up um, creating papier mache masks and those kinds of activities, making solar systems, and that 2 o'clock in the morning making solar systems, so I would be the engaging, always something interesting, always something new in the classroom type of teacher. And I believe students really do appreciate that. I employed the 777 method, where every 7 minutes I would change the activity or the learning goal uh, for students, so that they don't get bored when they're in class, and that is important, just to keep them engaged, and because their mind can wander so easily. Well, not so easily, they're at the age, so you have to be engaging and always being student centered. So, like I said, I am an effective communicator, and I'm able to plan, organize, and execute tasks at a high level. I I work hard. I work well under pressure. I cater to various. I am able to cater to various learning styles, and being an auditory body kinesthetic learner myself, and being in a country where people didn't exactly understand those kinds of learning combinations together, I am able to bring a different perspective to the classroom, and it's a no child left behind or no learner left behind kind of classroom with me, because I have various activities that that cater to the various learning styles when I plan my lessons. I am positive, I am enthusiastic, I have a very optimistic outlook on life. I I tend to look at the big picture, and my big picture life plan is to be a New York Times bestselling author. So that in and of itself speaks to my personal development goals and what I do every day. One of my favorite authors is Toni Morrison, and she recently died, which is sad. Um, but she was a great writer. So I have read almost all her books and a few of her papers on writing. Um, I keep going back to these books because she is sort of a benchmark for where I would love to become or be in a few years. She won the Nobel Prize. That is obviously enticing to me as an author, and I'm expecting to have Beloved. That's the only book, only one of her novels that I haven't read yet, and I've ordered that through the UA bookshop. Um, so yes, my reading regime is, aside from my academic work and aside from the readings that I do at UA, I insert one piece of fiction and one nonfiction every month. And that is something I got from, I believe, Tim Ferriss. I either got it from his blog or his book, The 4 Hour Body. And he speaks on why reading fiction at night is important for the human brain, because it helps us to dream, and our dreams then bring together it brings together, I believe, synapses and cognitive development, so it's just really good. In addition to that, my last month book was this one. This is Sapiens by Noah Harari, a brief history of humankind. Even my history teacher laughed at me when I was reading this for fun. So that's a thing. I can't just read a book. I have to live in the book. I have to make notes. I have to devour the content like it is. I just don't understand people who don't mark up in books. I really. Why did you buy the book if you if you're not going to you know thoroughly use it. So that's one of my pet peeves: people who use books inappropriately. um, so while while I was in Germany, I got lost, and it's a fun story. I was with a group, and we were supposed to see the Park Sanssouci, the Chinese tea house. I hope you can see that. It's such a beautiful thing. But me being me, I get distracted by shiny, pretty things, and I ended up being in a bookstore, and that I got these two books, and since then it has helped me as an artist. This is on Baroque and Rococo style, prior to which I was more into Renaissance art and Renaissance painting. But then after after being found by the books, I have shifted like my focus a little bit. This book has helped me so much as an artist because um it gives me new perspectives. It gives me new people to be in awe of. Oh, because of that. And as I said, me being me, I have to mark everything in the book. So it's my book. I will share something with you. Please don't laugh. Um, you have to promise. So this is another pleasure reading, and this is The Tale of Genji. And I got this one because I needed a I needed an Asian perspective in in terms of I needed an Asian perspective for certain questions that I had at the time, and through my research, I realized that Murasaki was the perfect person to get that. I used to read Haruki Murakami a lot at the time, and that was a contemporary male perspective in terms of what I was looking for. But after reviewing and getting to know the problem that I wanted to solve, I found that this book was more centered towards it. Everyone who I show this book, they laugh at me and tell me that this cannot be pleasure reading. So, you know, I am who I am. In addition to that, I do a lot of yoga and I meditate. Um, this is a book that I got from my friend who she is no longer in Jamaica. She moved back to the US because she got a better teaching opportunity, I believe, at a university. But we used to go to yoga classes together at a school called True Self, and I was so grateful that she turned me on to just go into that space because I have developed more as a human being in terms of my outlook, in terms of how calm I am, in terms of things that don't become issues for me. So, and one really interesting, cool aspect about yoga is sometimes you get to say, "Look what my body can do." So I'm really grateful for experiences such as that, and yeah, that is another aspect of where I am in terms of the person who is Denis Manning. Um, I read a lot and I write a lot and I research a lot. That is the core of who I am right now. And if I get or when I get an opportunity to teach, I know that I will bring that kind of energy to the space and to the classroom. So I am very optimistic about that. One of my more recent achievements was I received the Gladwin Turbot Award, and this is a prize for most outstanding work in historical methodology. I got this from the University of the West Indies, and this is speaking to how meticulous and detailed I am in terms of planning, collection, assimilation, presentation of my research process. And my my lecturers tend to be in awe of my Excel spreadsheets. It's sad. I get excited over Excel spreadsheets. Yeah, so I love, the yeah, what else? Um so in regards to excuse me. Yes, regarding California English or Cali English, one of the things that I respect about your model is that it is following or in line with the Montessori approach, and I I like the concept and I like the execution of respecting and recognizing that students are capable individuals and not just, tabula rasas. Um, that they're fully able to, exploit their own language potentials. They can meet their own goals, and as the facilitator, you help them to achieve this learning goal, that you create a multicultural environment is something that I'm very interested in and interested to be a part of. Um, I find that I pick up languages very easily. However, is as with everything, is as a human being, it's a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So in the past, I studied have studied Spanish. I have studied French recently at UA, and more centered on French right now because I want to read Le Petit Prince. That is de Paris' book, in French, because I have already read it in English and read it twice. Read it with the audiobook and read a physical copy. But I believe I can understand the writer more. I believe also he was a Nobel Prize winner. So you see, my reading list tends to be Nobel Prize winners. But yeah, the reason why I want to read it in French is because I believe you get a certain kind of understanding of who the writer is and the writer's thought process and how they particularly find to find words to I want a better word than string together in terms of how they put words together. Um, so that is one of the reasons why French right now is a focus for me. In the past as well, I have learned Japanese and German, and I have a wide range of interests. I'd like to think of myself as a thinker. I have a wide range of interests. So art is obviously one. I'm a writer. I dance. I'm interested in music. I like going to concerts. I like going to live music. Anything. Um, I'm very approachable. I'm popular. I want to see people win, and I believe that is one of the reasons why I tend to have, I'd say, I guess a lot of friends. So that is one aspect of my personality. Um, yeah, I go to dance classes when I can, and it's traditional dance, modern dance, and dance hall. So those are areas that I'm interested in. Why do you go to a dance hall class when you're Jamaican and everything is and everything is dance hall? Um, because I'm me and I like learning. That is one good answer to that question. Um, so I I'm very organized, and the system that I use in terms of my organizational process is bullet journaling. I like to use bullet journals because the system of bullet journals because it allows me to be creative while being organized at the same time. If I want to be more minimalist, that's an approach that I can take. But if the following week I want to be flouncy and have all kinds of sun, moon, and stars, you know, concepts as my theme, I can do that as well, and there's a space for it. I also use Microsoft products to help me with my organization. So obviously Excel, but I have in the past used, I believe it was Microsoft Projects, and I can't remember the other program, but that in addition to other apps like Evernote, Google Tasks, uh, Google Calendar, obviously. Who lives without a Google Calendar reminder for everything? I don't know. um, so things like that help me keep on target for my life goals. For me, my graduation date is very important to me, so I'm always able to check in with myself and make sure that these systems help me to be on point, to be on the ball when it comes to what what is needed and what is required of me, and always being, effective. Um, I'm monitoring myself. Um, I'm outgoing. I'm confident. Um, I have an ear for languages. I believe I said that before. Oh, this is important. So one of my leadership style or teaching styles is being firm yet fair. Um, and I find that this helps the process in the classroom, so everyone knows where, everyone has a clear understanding of, what is expected within the class. And I believe it helps to in terms of freedom as well, because when you understand roles, then you can be more, you know creative in, what it is that you are doing. I guess I could show you aspects of my portfolio. So I can't not write at all. So me saying I'm a writer is just a moot point for me. I have to write everything down. This is an art journal, yet it is still filled with quotes from Socrates. Actually, my outlook tends to be more stoic. I really love the writings of Marcus Aurelius. That helps me. And in addition, I should have said this when I was talking about like me being organized. Um, so I have stoicism as my operating system in the background. So I don't tend to get, overwhelmed by daily life happening. Um, in addition, it might sound weird. I use Instagram. I use Instagram. So there is this page on Instagram called Before 5 a.m. and I'm one of those people who I want to be the early morning riser. I usually tend to be very close to it. So before 5 a.m. it helps you to organize your thought. It helps you to organize your week, and moving into the week, you have reminders throughout, and you have tasks and that kind of thing. That is more uh health, fitness, mental state. I use it for that, but you can use it for other things. But yes, that's what I use the before 5 a.m. So um, this kinds of feeds. That's where I remembered from the quote from Socrates, and it says, the undisciplined life is an insane life," and that is Socrates. And I do believe that it has to be an insane life if it's undisciplined. So these are a few of my drawings. I would like to say I draw daily. That is the goal. I don't, but I draw as much as I can. And again, like I said with bullet journal, oh yes, I do bullet journal. So I trick myself into drawing daily. So bullet journal helps. But like when I actually have or create a space for Denim the artist, these are some of the earlier pieces that I did. I'm into surrealism and the Fluxus movement. I'm into people like Yoko Ono. I'm into obviously Frida, and Man Ray. I like Abramovich, and I'd love to. One of my goals is going to Art Basel. That is definitely a goal of mine, and I am actively working towards it. I work in text and I work in, and I have been working on my portraiture. So that is an area that I tend to develop. Sometimes I get frustrated with my art, so sometimes I just cross them up, and that I have stopped doing it. But it is, like I said, a process, and as and again, meditation and yoga helps. So after coming to the realization that you are where you are as an artist, and you just are where you are, and every day if you do it a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, constant drop-ins wear away stone, so you get better. And I believe that is a teachable skill that I can engage with my students, because especially coming from English not being my first language as well, I can connect with my students and I can actually show them tips and tricks and little hacks that they don't have to go down the same language mistakes or language barriers that I initially encountered as a non-native English speaker. So in terms of grammar and that kind of situation, um, that also helps. Sometimes in terms of learning a new language, I recently found found a site called, that's not the site. I want to say Let's Talk English, but that is not the site. I will try and remember it and send it to you at a later date. But he showed he showed us how we can use technology, current technology like Google Home and Siri, to help you with your language learning skills. So for me, it is a naturally growing and evolving process in the way how language is learned and language is embodied, because I believe you kind of have to embody it. Again, more drawings. At one point, obviously, I was all into anatomy. Um, this is a. This was kind of. It started out being an oh, that's one of the good things about art. So this started out being an anatomy drawing, but I was listening. to one of my favorite bands, which is the Deftones, and it is rock music. Why are you listening to rock music and you're Jamaican? So initially I was drawing surgical anatomy of arteries, and it like sometimes you hit a wall creatively, so you have to be open to letting yourself grow in other areas. So this ended up happening, and I just started to write the lyrics, well, one line of the lyric over and over, and I believe this was a more successful, one of my more successful drawings. This is another version of it, but I don't think uh this isn't finished. It is pen ink. It is pen and ink, and it is also graphite on paper. Um, I work with various mediums such as pastels. I obviously pen and ink, obviously graphite on paper. I'm into, so especially with my Caribbean issues in Caribbean philosophy course that I'm doing and I'm engaging with, it is more about understanding how various cultures have come to shape the Caribbean as we know it. And I have learned so much and have a greater appreciation for Asian cultures, in the sense that prior to, I used to or still do try to embody Musashi's teachings in my daily life and meditations in my daily life. However, from the course that I said, this is in Caribbean philosophy, I am looking more into Western philosophy, African philosophy, and Asian philosophy. And obviously, that speaks to the groups of people who at various times came to the Caribbean, impacted the daily way of life, and by extension, the philosophy and the ensuing syncretic and creolization aspects that happened during the process. So I'm excited to write my papers in that respect. Um, so I have something to show you. It should be around. Uh, yeah. Um, yeah. Sometimes I do things like that. So it's never just one thing. It's always evolving. It's I even did fashion illustrations, but it always goes back to writing. I'm always writing over. I'm always writing over my drawings, and that's just something. That's just a part of my aesthetic, I believe. Um, sure. So, um, I believe I covered most things. So, what else can I tell you about me? Not from a big family. I'm a middle child, and typical middle child, I believe. So creativity runs in that pathway. So yeah. Mm, so my understanding of the English teacher in China position, um, I I believe you are looking for someone who has the qualities that I have, and overall, my I I do have a strong teaching and communication background. I have a strong background in research, and my achievements academically and non-academically are, my achievement academically and non-academically, and the fact that I can successfully identify gaps, and I am a productive, proactive, enthusiastic, approachable, confident person. I'll be able to succeed. I believe and know I'll be able to succeed in the role. I know that um, I would treat it as an opportunity in terms of learning the culture, in terms of um, translate what well being a good ambassador, because I have had training in terms of um, Team Jamaica, so it would be a good exchange, and I know I'd be able to succeed in the role of English English teacher in China, the role of English teacher in China. Um, believe this is as much as it's a lot. Um, I see and I know that I would be an asset, and I believe that I would be happy, pursuing this as a career path and a logical next step. I hope that I have said enough to impact and to have a face-to-face meeting in regards to an interview. And Shia thank you for watching to this point, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity and that you are considering me a as a person, as a participant, as a person who could fill this role. Thank you so much, and I'm Denny Manning, and it was a pleasure. Bye. 谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢。